Hey guys, gonna spend a couple more hours in the shop tonight and continue my little video series here on my first knife making endeavor. And I think we've finally reached the point which in my opinion is one of the more exciting points, but also maybe some of the more difficult as far as the work is concerned. And that's the blade grinding process. Or in this case the hollow grinding process. It's definitely a little bit more satisfying than just cutting out the blanks, as you definitely get a much better visual representation of what the final knife is going to look like, and I think it just makes it all that much more attractive, and also just gets you that much closer to having a usable tool. So I'm excited about tonight. I'm going to start off with our mild steel template. I may have mentioned this in the last video that I recorded as I was roughing out the blanks, that I want to practice on some mild steel before I commit to the 1095 knife steel. Simply because although I have practiced quite a bit in the past, I just want to make sure I'm brushed up on hollow grinding, as well as to see and make sure that this particular blade design is going to come out like I like it. And I don't think there's too many better ways of doing that than just duplicating the knife steel with some mild steel, which is much cheaper and a little easier to mess up should that happen. I might also mention that along with practicing grinds by hand in the past, I have also watched a couple of videos on hollow grinding. One of them I will recommend on this video is The Fine Art of Hollow Grinding. I'm sorry I don't recall the knife maker that was involved in that videotaping, but if you just Google that, it should pop up quite a few results in your browser. Almost any online knife store that carries instructional DVDs, seems like almost always they have that one at least. And they are a little expensive. I think I paid about $40 to $45 for mine, but I think it's definitely worth it. I think it'll definitely expedite the learning curve for most people and get you where you want to be with your grinding a little bit faster than just trial and error by hand. It always helps to see someone who has done something more times than you have in the past and has become an expert in it. Definitely helps to watch them, to watch experienced workers, and even though this is a video and not in person, it still is very helpful. And there's a lot of useful tips that are gone over in those videos. And I also have a flat grinding video by the same DVD company, and it's also very helpful as well. I don't remember the title of that one, but I know flat grinding is in the title. But enough about that. Just want to show you kind of our preparation here on this knife blank. It'll be the exact same for the 1095, and I might also mention at this point that I will be videotaping the hollow grinding of the mild steel, probably not of the 1095, simply because it's the exact same process and same techniques, so no use to burn up tape doing the same thing twice. I will, however, show the finished 1095 blank as well as this one and any others that I do tonight. But as far as preparation is concerned, one thing I do like to do is put a scribe down the center of the blade. In this case, since we're doing a chisel grind only on one side, there's only going to be one scribe line. If I was doing a hollow grind on both sides, I would make two scribe lines in the middle that were about 1/16 of an inch or so apart in the center. But since this is a chisel grind, we're only grinding one side. I simply measured from the back side my 1/16 of an inch Actually, this might be about a 1/16 strong, which is probably a little bit more ideal for a knife of this size. You definitely want to leave enough material so that there's no issues when heat treating. Typically, the thinner you get towards the edge, the more likely you are to have warping or cracking or things of that nature that you do not want. So it's been recommended by most knife makers I've talked to leave a bit of material, anywhere from a 1/16 to maybe as much as 1/8 of an inch, simply to make your blade more stable during the heat treat process. You can then easily finish the final edge on your belt sander despite the fact that the blade has been hardened. But a little bit about the center line marking procedure, nothing too complicated. I simply use my homemade scribe. Just so happened that for an 1/8 inch piece of chisel ground steel, it works best just to bottom this point out on my block here. And that gave me the exact depth I needed on my edge there. And what I did was I just held the knife up to it, ran my scribe down, making sure everything was flat and straight. And I went ahead and put some blue layout dye on this blade, just to kind of make that pop a little bit more. For that I used this Dicom Steel Blue layout fluid. I believe I got this from usanifemaker.com. It's just a felt tip applicator. You run down your blade and it'll just stain that for you. Dries real fast and definitely makes the scribe line pop a little bit more. I probably didn't need it in this application, as since when I rough ground my template, I had the blade perpendicular to the grinding wheel, and that left perpendicular grinder marks, which contrasted pretty highly with this vertical scribe line or parallel scribe line. But I just wanted to show the blue layout fluid, show you guys what that looked like as well. One note, I did find out I've had this fluid sitting around for quite a while, and the felt applicator had dried out a little bit. Solution to that was simply to lay it upside down for a little while, kind of shake it up some, and let the dye flow back down into the tip. I also kind of blotted it on a paper towel as well, just to kind of get things going, and that came out just fine. Also, I went ahead just for fun and penciled in kind of where I wanted my grind line to end up ideally. I think with the width of this knife and the chisel grind that we're doing, the grind line should end up about halfway to the spine with no problem, and still leave us enough material on the end for heat treating purposes. So hopefully it'll look something like that when we're done. This is definitely not set in stone, and if I need to move this around a little bit, that's no problem. We'll see that better when we start grinding. But that's pretty much it for preparation at this point. I did put a brand new 120 grit belt on my 8-inch contact wheel, simply because of I wanted a good clean edge for tracking and doing my plunge cut. Sometimes as you wear belts down, the edges get frayed a little bit, and although that probably wouldn't pose an issue, better safe than sorry. I went ahead and just put a new one on there. As far as speeds, I will be running at low speed, just because I don't want to take too much material away too fast, and because I'm not super accomplished at this, I want every advantage I can get. So we will be going kind of slow. I may increase the speed to medium depending on how things start feeling, but we will start off slow for now. And I'm also going to use my tool rest, as you can see, just to help steady the blade. I know a lot of guys freehand when they're hollow grinding. I like a little bit more stability, at least at this point in my skill level. So we will be using the tool rest, and I'll show you that technique. But other than that, I think we're ready to get going. I don't want to take too much time up just talking. Let's get to working, and we'll see how this goes. Let me set my camera up and we'll get started.